I think there is a huge gap in delivery between publishing stuff and saying that this is online and people can find it if they need to. And as a result of our communications, we're seeing sustained changes in behavior. And we have limited resources with which to bridge that gap. And so I wanted to talk about some of the things that we can do to build that bridge where maybe the comms team didn't have exactly what they needed. So it was very hard to get hands on impact data. And then we're not being sure potentially about, in many cases, about whether we're reaching the right people, right place, right time, whether we're reaching them frequently enough. If it takes 66 days to form a habit, doing a campaign for 2 weeks is highly unlikely to create any sustained behavior change. And it's this idea of please apply some communications fairy dust or communications magic to this. And we want to move away from that. It doesn't work for communications, it doesn't work for residents, it doesn't work for long-term trust and investing in communications. We want to move more towards a very service data-led approach, getting the before, during and after modeled and measured, looking much better at targeting and having an always-on behavior change approach to these sorts of campaigns. That's how you're going to build habits. That's how you're going to build measurable impact and outcome. I put CPO there, the cost per outcome. We should be thinking about the time and investment that we put into these communications. Does it receive a 10 times return on investment? Are we getting the cost per outcome down? And if we take this approach, we start to build investable communications, seeing positive correlations or negative correlations, depending on what you're trying to achieve, but not the third one. We don't want to have either no data or no evidence of a correlation with that activity. And here are some real examples of campaigns where before, you can see the blue line, communications, red line, and then outcome afterwards. But with waste and recycling, we're trying to create much more sustained outcome graphs at the other end. And I think in order to achieve this with shrinking budgets and more and more challenges facing people, we can maybe distill a lot of what I'm saying into those things that we may have been pushing out for years, but apply it to our own work. Practice what we preach, should we say, by reducing wastage, improving targeting, reusing audiences and channels that we own already, that we interact with already, and then recycling things that we know work internally and amongst each other. So to reduce wastage, we really need to zoom in on location, demography and timing. With audiences and channels, we're looking at, for example, remarketing to people who've just set up a council tax account, and potentially also using website and email advertising like that. I'm just going to quickly show you an example. You're on a council tax page here, and there is space that could be used for getting a message across, but then also when I leave this page, I can see an ad about recycling policy later on that day on Facebook or YouTube or so on. So these sorts of highly targeted interventions are ways that we can definitely improve the efficacy of our interventions. And then in terms of successful creative, thoroughly recommend going to Comms Files, which is a Comms 2.0 resource, hundreds of different waste and recycling campaigns on there that you can borrow from and look at as well. Taking great campaigns and licensing them between each other to help offset the cost of doing that, and also looking at things like search insight, things that have worked well in the past. These are the habits or the tactics that we think will help you work well. In terms of channel choices, using your owned at the top, and then maybe online paid and out of home as and when appropriate. That's where we can see the real value coming from in terms of long-term behavior change, making things at the right place, right time, easy, attractive, social, and so on. So here are the habits that I think we could be looking at adopting as comms pros in this field. Demand service data, always use audience insight, focus groups, surveys all the time, before, during, after. You'll get nuggets of information from that, and you'll be able to demonstrate change and awareness. Really do invest in the creatives and tailoring those to specific audiences, translations, things like that. It's a long game doing this, and it's worth having surveys, games, apps as you go to really increase the quality of user experience. get your website and your email helping you all the time, and then use paid media in very, very targeted ways. So, for example, you'd have always on remarketing to school term dates pages or specific pages that might give you your target audience. We're also developing some things at the moment that might help. For example, through parking, weather, travel apps, we'll be able to deliver triggers on very specific routes to remind people when recycling or when normal waste is going out and what can and can't go in there. And that's a new network that we're building where we'll work closely with those routes, route geodata. Also, getting lots of councils chipping together to build things like games, which then could be tailored to your location, which will again improve UX and reduce the cost of delivering those things. And also, we're offering free waste and recycling search insights. So that's we'll look at your geography and we'll look at what people are typing in around specific themes. So these are things that we're sort of giving to you guys to help you.